The Maiden with the Wooden Bowl. Long ago, there lived an old couple with their only daughter who was extremely beautiful. The father felt sick and passed away. The widow had to work hard to earn their daily needs. She was also worried about her daughter's future. One day, she called her child and said, "Dear, your father lies far away in a cemetery, and I, being old, need to follow him soon. The thought of leaving you alone troubles me." She was afraid that her daughter's beauty might destroy her future. So, she put a wooden bowl upon the daughter's head so that it might hide her beauty. "This bowl will always protect you after I have left. Never remove it." Soon, the old woman died, and the girl had to work in the rice field to earn her living. Everyone noticed her, and soon she came to be known as the maiden with the bowl on her head. People laughed at her and tried to peep under the bowl. The Maiden and the Rich Farmer. One day, when the maiden was working in the fields, a rich farmer saw her and went towards her. He was impressed by her diligence and hard work. Watching her work throughout the day, he was so pleased with her work that he asked her to work in her fields until the end of harvest season. After the harvest season, he asked her to become an inmate of his house. "My wife is ill," he added, "and I should like you to nurse her for me." The maiden accepted his offer. She looked after the sick woman with every care. As the farmer and his wife had no daughter, they loved her as their own child. After a few days, the farmer's son came to visit them. He was awestruck to see the maiden with the wooden bowl on her head. He asked his father who she was and why she wore a bowl upon her head. The Rich Farmer's Son. The farmer told his son the sad story of the maiden. He was greatly touched. As the days passed by, he became fond of her and fell in love. He decided to marry her. All his friends and relatives were opposed to this marriage. They said that she was only a servant, and what if the bowl was removed and she turned out to be ugly and not beautiful? But the young boy went and proposed to her. She refused and said, "I can't marry you. I am a servant in your father's house." She cried and fell asleep. That night, in a dream, her mother came to her and said, "My dear child, don't trouble your heart. Follow what your heart says. Marry the farmer's son, and all will be well again." The next morning, the maiden woke up smiling and full of joy. When the farmer's son came and asked her again for marriage? She agreed. The bowl breaks. When all the plans for the wedding were settled, the maiden thought that her bowl should be removed now. The maiden herself tried to remove the bowl, but it was firmly fixed. Some of the relatives tried to help her, but when they attempted to remove the bowl, it uttered strange cries. The farmer's son said to her, "I love you with or without the wooden bowl." He ordered the wedding feast to proceed. Then, the wine cups were brought into the hall. The bride and the groom were expected to drink together. Just as she brought the wine cup to her lips, the bowl on her head broke with a bang, and gold and silver and precious stones fell from it. The guests looked at it with amazement, but they were more amazed to see that the maiden was the most beautiful lady in Japan. The maiden who was once a beggar became rich.
Thanks for watching. Do like, share, subscribe to Sahil Book House.